Hey, welcome to the Pharmacy Residency Podcast, a member of the Pharmacy Podcast Network. Brian Fung just put up a great video, my PGY 1 and PGY 2 Pharmacy Letter of Intent, and I want to give you 3 takeaways I had. And I want to be very positive about it, so I'm not going to I'm going to put my English major to the side, and I'm not going to be critical of him, his letter, or anything like that. I'm just going to tell you a lot of the things that maybe you did or didn't catch when you watched that video. The first thing is the opening, and the openings for both of his letters were similar. It's the UCSF ACCP opening, and this is very much like in chess, where you have a set opening or a set defense that you know you're going to use, and you know that the outcome is going to be that, okay, well, it's acceptable. Okay, it's not risky, and but it may be risky in the sense that it comes off as very generic, because there are, I see about 50% of the letters use that exact opening. So the reason why I recommend against that opening, and he talks about, as he looked at it, how he felt some of the letters, parts of the letters were generic, but when he looks at his PGY1 letter, he said that it was more generic over and over again, rather than the PGY2, where he had a lot more of what he would call nice touches. And each of those nice touches is a way to improve the letter, I think, and make it more his own. So when he applied for PGY1, he says that he got 3 interviews out of 7 applications and no offers. So there's a couple of things with that. First of all, that number 7, that's a bit low. The average person applies to just under 11 residency sites. You can't apply to under 11, but the data show 11. And the no offers after the interview, that's not what I want to talk about. What I want to talk about is the 3 out of 7 compared to his PGY2, where he got 7 out of 7 interviews. And I think when you listen to him, you hear how focused he was as he was going towards PGY2. He did a rotation in informatics, I think, in fall, and he knew that, or PGY1, and then he knew that that's what he wanted to do when he went to PGY2, and he was so focused and so clear about what he wanted. All of the people who were reading his letter recognized it. And so what I'm seeing is that the letter, in the quality of the letter, was much higher with PGY2 because he knew himself better. And I bet, and obviously we can't go back in time unless he has a time machine, but I bet that if he knew where he wanted to go and he could articulate that in his PGY1 letter, that he would have probably gotten a lot more offers, a lot more interview offers, and maybe even 1 or 2 offers for the actual residency site. And I say this because I think he might have applied to different places. And I don't mean that, these guys just didn't see what was in it. I think that you have 4,000 choices, and that is a tough number to work with. But I think that when he went from PGY1 to PGY2, he knew exactly which 7 he should apply to. So the letter of intent, I think, when he did it in the first one, it was about getting a task done and just creating that letter. I think in the second one, I think it was really, truly a reflection, and he took the time to reflect on what he really wanted, and he was able to articulate that. So first, even with the same opening, he had different results, and I think those different results came from inward focus and just really asking yourself, what do I really want? And then picking the right sites. And I know this is late in the game to be picking the right sites, but I think that's why he had a much better success with the second. He was reading it after he had done it. And again, this is, of course, years after he's done the PGY1 and PGY2. But this is good advice, or as they say in Australia, this is a good advice, to read it out loud to yourself. And is that little voice in your head saying, you don't really want to do that? When it says, I'm so excited to staff every other weekend, and yeah, I get no days off extra during the week, or and you're seeing, oh, that just doesn't sound right. Okay. And then as far as grammar and syntax, I'm finding that even people that have been in this country for decades still have struggled to get English right, because nuance is something that Grammarly will not pick up on. So what I keep seeing over and over again is that the applicant is actually insulting the residency site, and unfortunately that UCSF opening is pretty insulting to begin with, because what you're doing is you're saying, I'm writing to you, the residency director, but the person that's actually reading it is the resident. So you're saying your residence possessive, like it's their residence. And not only that, it's the resident reading it. So you don't need to put your residence. It's not like the RPD isn't going to know who they are. Just put the name. Doctor, I'm a resident, just put that name. You don't have to put your residence. And it also shows more originality. It doesn't match the exact verbiage of the first one. So second thing, read it a day later. One, to read it out loud to yourself to see if you're being honest with yourself. And two, make sure you have a native English speaker read it out loud, or someone like me who can pick up those things. Grammarly will absolutely not pick everything out. And Grammarly a lot of times gives you weird commas and a lot of weird things that make it sound wrong. You really have to understand English to use Grammarly right. So a third one, teaming up with a good writer. He says something, and he's very self-deprecating. I've met him. He's just such a great guy, and just so humble. And he says, I'm not a good writer. And what I want to kind of counter that with is that he is a fantastic communicator. He not only communicates content, but he communicates emotions so well. And he did such a great job when he was talking about those that didn't match for the residency last year. Probably one of the best videos I'd seen the whole year from someone in pharmacy. And the thing is that you can produce good writing. Now, can you produce good writing in the next 12 days before the deadline? That's a very different thing, because your writing centers are shutting down, or they're overwhelmed with people doing last-minute papers, or your college may be closing up anyway. So the writing center is also frustrating for some, because when you go to the writing center, you expect someone that's going to fix it. I fix it. I just, somebody sends me something and I just fix it. I don't have time to teach them all the nuances about it. The average number of corrections I make is between 100 and 150 per document in that first LOI. And so it's just very frustrating for some people. But the other thing is that they may not be able to fix it. They may not understand determiners like a, and, the well enough, or their language that they're translating from doesn't use determiners, or they're coming from a language that has masculine, feminine, and neutral, like Spanish, and they can't translate it because there is no translation. Or like I have terrible time with por and para in Spanish, when to use por and when to use para, and it just is a real struggle for me. So I know there's 12 days until New Year's, but if you want to team up with me, you can go to residencyhelp.com, see how I can help you. But I'm telling you, the letter was meant to be a reflection. The letter was meant to do what Brian did from PGY 1 to PGY 2, which is find where he belonged. And once he found where he belonged, he sent the letter to the right places. And most people are using the letter as this thing that you've just got to get done. But if you truly, and if you're a P3, P2, P1 listening to this, this is the best self-reflection you can possibly do, is a practice letter of intent to what you would think would be the residency site that you want. So again, residencyhelp.com if you want my help, and a bunch of free content.